Hello everyone, I am Carlo Chakwas Victor and I welcome you to the section 3 of our free Excel class. Today we'll be talking about the core formulas for everyday work in Excel. Today we'll be talking about mastering essential formulas that we use in our daily accounting, finance and the business world. We'll be talking about four major topics: cell referencing, the relative and absolute referencing, the logical functions, the conditional aggregation, and the basic lookup. So without wasting much of our time, we'll dive into the first one, which is the cell referencing. So in cell referencing, we have two types of referencing in Excel. So if you want to reference in Excel, you either use one of these referencing to reference in Excel. So you either use the relative referencing or you use the absolute referencing. So these are the two major referencing we use in Excel: the relative referencing and the absolute referencing. So I will explain this relative and absolute referencing, so we'll move on immediately. Imagine you have a figure A and B with all these figures and you want to do for the relative referencing. You simply type equals to, let's say you want to multiply. You say this multiplied by this. You hit your enter key. Then once you drag down, everything appears. This is relative referencing because it changes. So relative referencing means that Excel will change the cell of your work you use in the formula. So it helps you know when a formula changes. So when you write anything in Excel and you are using the relative referencing, once you drag the way I just dragged, all the figures will correspond, and if you check in any of them, you see that it changes. So it will interact as it goes down. That is relative referencing. So let me clean off this and try and show you something. Then clean off from here to here, and let me repeat the same thing we did the earlier. Let me say equals to, then this, I will type my multiplication key and multiply it by this and hit enter. It shows me the same 36. Right now, as they showed me this 36, let me try to see if I can drag it down and see what will happen. So I will drag this down. I will drag this down. So let me drag it down and see what will happen. So I'm dragging it down. I have dragged it down. You see, everything is showing me 0, 0, 0. But it's not supposed to be so, because 4 multiplied by this is not supposed to be 0. So the relative referencing will not work here, because you see, it is only the first one that has the figure. So what if I want, in a scenario whereby I want this 4 to multiply this, the same 4 to multiply this, the same 4 to multiply this, the same 4 to multiply this, and so on and so forth. If I use the relative referencing, it will not work. That is why this time around we must use the absolute referencing. So using the relative referencing will show you only 0 throughout. So to use the absolute referencing, you lock this particular 4, because you want this 4 to be multiplying them one after the other. You want this 4 to keep multiplying them. So what do? Let's clear off this and do our absolute referencing, so you see how absolute referencing works. You simply type your equals to, then you select the first one or the second one you want, this, then multiplied by this. So now you want this 4 to be static, so you come to this 4 and you lock up this 4. So what do? You put your $sign in front of the D, which is shift $sign, then you put your $sign at the back of the D. Once you have done this successfully, you hit your enter key. So once you hit your enter key, if you check, you have locked this 4. It will no longer move. So putting a $sign in front of the two alphabets locks this 4. After doing that, you can now drag it down. So when you place your cursor here, you drag it down to the end, it will now work. This is absolute referencing. So this is how to do absolute referencing. Or if you don't want to start suffering yourself by using the $sign, you simply press equals to this 4 you want to make static, you click on it. Once you click on it, you press F4. Once you press F4, F4 automatically do the $sign for you. By pressing F4, I have pressed F4, so look at it has already locked it front and back. You only lock the alphabet. Then you say multiply by this. You hit your enter key. After getting the first one, you can now drag down. So this is what we call absolute referencing, when you lock a particular figure that you don't want to move. So this time around, let's move over to the next topic we have, which is a logical function. So in the absolute referencing, you can also use it to do multiplication, division, and so on and so forth. Where you want a particular number to be static, you use the absolute referencing. So the next sheet we have here is our logical function. In this logical function, we'll talk about different logical function. We'll talk about the if function. Then after talking about the if function, we'll talk about the and function. Then we'll talk about the or function. So these are the three major logical functions we talk about in this particular section. We talk about the if function, we talk about the and function, and we talk about the or function. So without wasting much time, we'll quickly dive to the first one, which is the if function. So the if function in Excel is a conditional function that helps you make decisions. It checks whether a particular condition is true or false, and it will give you the answer based on the condition after it has checked it. That is, if the condition is true, it will tell you to do this, and if the condition is not true, it will tell you to do the other side. So let's assume that we have this student and the score, and we want to find the results, and we want to use the if function to get the results. So we'll see how this works to use the if function to get this result. So we simply come to the where you want the result to appear. You type your equal sign. Remember that you must always use equal sign in Excel. Then you type the if. Once you type it, the if function appears. You'll double click on it. Once you double click on it, the next thing is for you to make your logical decision. In this particular case, we want the score to be 50. That is, we want the pass score to be 50. That any student that scores above 50, Excel should tell us that the student passed. But if you score below 50, Excel should tell us that the student failed. So our condition is 50% is the pass mark. So we'll now start. We'll now say if we pick the first score for the first person, this particular person will now say is greater than or equal to, we say our condition is 50, so we type 50. Then we put comma. Don't forget this comma. After putting comma, we now write what we want the cell to do. We want the cell to pass the person if the person score more than 50 or equals to 50. So we put the pass in a quotation mark. So we open a quotation mark, we manually type the pass. So after typing the pass, we simply close the quotation mark again. And after we have closed the quotation mark, the right thing to do is for us to do what? To do the next one, which is to tell Excel the next thing it will do if the student failed. So after putting the quotation mark and closing it, you put another comma, then you open a quotation mark to write the fail. So you open a quotation mark, then you type fail. So this is trying to tell Excel if this person scored more than or equals to 50, pass the person. But if the person scored less, fail the person. You close your bracket and you hit enter. Excel automatically tells that the person passed. So you don't need to do for the other ones. Simply come here and drag down. You see, Excel told that this person passed, this person failed, and this person passed. So this is how the if function works. This is how the if function works. You can use anything at all. You can decide to clear off this one and use another condition that is not pass or fail by simply typing equals to. You open the if function, you double click on it, you say, let me say this is greater. You can use only greater. If this is greater than 60, Excel should tell me that the person is good. You put comma, then you type good, but make sure that the good will be in quotation mark. So you open a quotation mark, you put the good, After typing the good, you close the quotation mark, you put comma, then the opposite, you open the quotation mark, maybe bad, then you close the quotation mark and close the bracket. So you hit enter. Excel will tell you good, then if it is the opposite, Excel will tell you bad, you drag down. So this is how the if function works. So you can use any term you want, you can use any word you want. There is no specific word, you just give it the condition. And in using the if function, you can use the greater than, which is this, you can use the less than, which is this, you can use the greater than or equals to, which is this, you can use the less than or equals to, which is this, you can use the less than, greater than, which is this, is not equals to, and you can also use the equals to. So these are the 6 possible you can use when using the if function. So let's continue. Now we have understood the if function. The next one is for us to check the AND function. So let's check the AND function and see how the AND function works. The AND function works almost similar to the if function. Just that this time around, it checks multiple conditions and makes sure that 2 of them are true before it will return true for you. If any of them is false, Excel will tell you false. So this time around, the 2 functions, the 2 conditions must be true for Excel to agree. That means if one is true, another one is wrong, Excel will not agree. So the 2 of them must agree. Let me show you how the AND function works. So let me use, still using this example, I will clear this, then I will type equals to the AND function. It will appear, I will double click on it, then I will select the one I want to test. Let me use the first one. But before I do this, the AND function requires 2 conditions. So what do? I'll have to clear this and make sure I have 2 conditions. So let me just manually bring attendance and copy this attendance here and come and paste it here. Let's have another condition so that you understand how the AND function works. So we have the attendance, then now we now have the results. So let's have our results here, so we see and understand how the AND function works. So this time around, you simply type equals to the AND will automatically open, then you double click on the AND. Once you double click on the AND, you start giving the condition you want. So you select the first one, the score. Let's assume in this our category or in this our example that the score mark is 50 and the attendance is 70. This is a class, so the lecturer requires the student to make at least 50 marks in the subject and at least come to the class 70%. So attendance is 70%, while the score is 50%. So if you score more than 50 in the subject and you scored 50 in the attendance, you will fail because you are required to make the score and to make the attendance too. So let's go. So the condition here is that you make the score and you also make the attendance. The score is more than 50 while the attendance is more than 70. So let's see how this works. You then say this is greater than or equals to 50 for the score. You want to put comma, put space if you want, then choose the attendance for the second condition. This must be greater than or equals to 70. So what this is trying to tell us that you must score at least 50% here and you must score at least 70% to pass. Anything that is not within this range, Excel will return fail. So you close the bracket and hit enter. This is true. Then you drag it down. So this is true, this is false, this is false. You see, here is more than 50, here is more than 70. That is why it returned true. Here is less than 50, here is more. But because one of them is already below, it will return false. Here is more than this pass score, while here is 60, below the 70 attendance, it will return false. So this is how you use the AND function. So let's go straight to the OR function to see how the OR function works. So imagine it is almost similar to the AND function, but this time around it differs in just a little way. The OR function takes either this one or this one. It must not be both of them like the AND function. The AND function, you must satisfy the two conditions, but in the OR function, once you satisfy one, it is okay. If you score more than this and even fail more than this, you have passed. Or if you pass anyone here and you fail here, you are still qualified. So we now say equals to, you pick the first one as usual. You now say greater than or equals to 50. Then you put comma and give space if you want. You pick this greater than or equal to 70 and you hit. So once you pick this, you will hit enter. So Excel, we will close the bracket before you hit enter. So let me just repeat it for the sake of those that didn't follow the formula. You press equals to, then you type the OR function. First of all, we forgot to type the OR function. That is why it returned that box error. So in Excel, you must be careful when typing the functions. So you type the OR function first of all before you start. So the OR function comes out, you double click on it so that the OR function will open. That is why the box returned error, because we did not start with the function. So now you now click on this, you now say equals to greater than or equals to, you say your condition is 50, you must pass 50, comma, you give space, you pick the second one, the attendance, greater than or equals to, you say it is 70. So after doing this, you now close your bracket, you hit enter. It returns true, then you drag it down. So you see all of them are true because at least one of them is right. That is how the OR function works. So the OR function, once you satisfy any of the criteria, you are excellent in that particular field. So after the OR function, we'll move straight to the next topic, which is the conditional aggregation. In this conditional aggregation, we'll discuss about the SUMIF, the COUNTIF, and the AVERAGEIF. So we do the SUMIF, the COUNTIF, and the AVERAGEIF. Then we'll explain what they mean. After explaining what they mean, we move over. So what we are talking about is the SUMIF, then the COUNTIF, and we'll now do the AVERAGEIF. So these are the three things we do: the SUMIF, the COUNTIF, and the AVERAGEIF. This is the conditional. So this time around, it's the same sum that you know, but this time around we add more conditions to it so that you understand it better. Let's clear up this one and also clear on, okay, let's leave this one. Let's say this is product. Let's rename it something X for our training sake. Let's rename it product so that you will follow. Then let's say that here is rice. Here is rice, and here is beans. Here is another rice that appeared again. Why the next one? Let's say maybe oil. Let's change this figure to an amount. Let's call it maybe sales, product and sales, so it makes meaning. Then let's clear up this one. So we are trying to do the SUMIF, the COUNTIF, and the AVERAGEIF. Let's call this figure maybe 5,000. Then this figure maybe 3,000. This figure, let's say it is 4,000. And this figure, let's say it is 2,500. So let me bold it so that you can see it clearly. So now we have this product and we have these sales, and we want to do the SUMIF. So SUMIF, we add all the numbers that meet a certain criteria. it will tell you to only add the figures that match what you want. So let's go. Once we start, you understand what I'm trying to say. So let's click equals to SUMIF. Look at the SUMIF, it appears, you double click on it. This time around, you want to add everything that is rice in this particular table. You don't want to add beans, you don't want to add oil. So because you cannot highlight all of them at once, you pick them gradually. So instead of going to pick them gradually, you use the SUMIF, and once you click the SUMIF, it will open a bracket. You highlight all the products you want to deal with. After highlighting all the products you want to deal with, you put comma and you put space. Then you put the product you want to sum inside this function, inside this formula, which is rice. You want to sum only rice. So you open a quotation mark, you type rice. Once you type rice, you close the quotation mark and you put comma. Then put space. What do you want to sum in this rice? You want to sum all the amounts in this rice. You select all the amounts in this rice. You close the bracket and you hit enter. So once you hit enter, Excel automatically tells you the price of the summation of rice. So it means that this is rice and this is rice. So if you sum them together, it will give you 9,000. This is how the SUMIF works. So you can still, even if there is plenty rice in this column, you just use the same pattern. You can sum all of them. Or if there is plenty oil, the same thing. To sum anything you want to sum, use the SUMIF function. Once you click the SUMIF function, select the product or the names or anything at all, then type what you want to sum, then choose the range of the amount you want to sum and you hit enter. That is how the SUMIF works. The next one we are going to look at is the COUNTIF. The COUNTIF, this time around, we count how many numbers are there. So let's say you want to do COUNTIF, you type COUNTIF. The COUNTIF appears, you select the COUNTIF the same way you did the first one. You select all the products you want to count, you put comma, then let's say you want to count only the rice again, you type rice and put it in quotation mark. Don't forget to put the rice in quotation mark. Once you put the rice in quotation mark, you close the bracket. Once you close the bracket, you hit enter. Excel automatically tells you that it is 2. So it means that rice appeared 2 times. So the COUNTIF, we count how many times the rice appeared. Let's say you don't want to use rice, that you want to use beans. You can just simply come here and edit it to beans. So once you edit it to beans, you do what? You hit enter. It tells you that beans appeared once. What if you don't type another beans here? Let's see if you type another beans here and you hit enter. You see you have to, this time around, make sure that the highlights will cover what you have done. So you have to clean off here and you highlight again to cover all the products once more, then you hit enter. It will tell you 2. So this is how the COUNTIF works. So the next one after this COUNTIF is to do the AVERAGEIF. This time around is almost similar to the SUMIF and the COUNTIF, but this time around it is the average. So how do you do it? The average calculates the mean of a specific condition. That is, it finds the total average based on the item that meet the rule that you will give it. So still using this example, let me clear this off so use it to do the AVERAGEIF. So you simply type equals to average, it appears AVERAGEIF. It opens the bracket. The same pattern, don't forget, you first of all select the product. After selecting the product, you put comma, then you type the product you want to do your average. So let's still say we want to do for rice. You put rice in quotation mark, you close the quotation mark, you put comma, you can give space, then you select all the figures you want to do the average. After selecting them, you close your bracket and you hit enter. So it tells you that the average of all the rice is 4,500. So it will sum all the rice and divide them by how many there are. That is how the AVERAGEIF works. So this is next class. The next topic is the VLookup. So this time around, let's use this particular place to do our VLookup. So the VLookup stands for vertical lookup. The V stands for vertical lookup. You must have heard this in so many places. The VLookup, people keep talking about the VLookup. So let's clear the conception of the VLookup so that you don't fear the VLookup anytime you hear of the VLookup. So the VLookup stands for vertical lookup. The V stands for vertical. So it means that it looks at the vertical column of the first column and returns something of value for you. So it searches for all the values in the first column of a table and returns a value from another column in the same row. It is like asking Excel to find this thing for me. Tell me where this information is in this column. So Excel will only look vertically in the first column of your table. Once it finds a match, it goes across the row and returns the value from the column you specify. Please note, in the lookup value, you must be in the first column of your table. The lookup only selects or only looks at the first column of your table. That is how the lookup works. So without wasting much of our time, we'll do an example to see how the VLookup works. So now we come here, let's say we want to use it, say equals to, you open for the VLookup, it will appear, you double click the VLookup as usual. Let's say we want to look up this particular person that have the ID number 113. Remember I told you the lookup only looks at the first column. So we want to check up this 113. We click on the 113, or if you don't want to click on the 113 like this, you can simply, after you have opened your lookup, you simply come and type 113, please, 113. So once you type the 113, then you put comma. Okay, you put comma. So once you put comma, then you highlight all the tables that you are looking the VLookup in. So you are looking it from all these places. So you select all of them, everything in the table, you highlight them. So after highlighting them, you put comma. Let's assume that what you are looking for is the salary of this 113, this particular employee ID 113. What is his or her salary? So you select the column that the salary falls. The salary is on column D, and column D is number 4. So you just type 4. So after you have typed 4, you put comma. Then the next thing is for you, after you type the 4 and you put comma, Excel will open something for you here. It will tell you true, approximate, false, exact match. Please, you will choose the false because you want exact match. You don't want approximate. So you choose this one. Once you double click on it, you close the bracket and you hit enter. Once you hit enter, it will return value for you. That is the salary of that employee. What did it return? It returned 36,000. So if you check employee 113, the basic salary is 36,000.